Good morning and welcome to everyone joining us on the call to the 10 a.m. media briefing. Today is September 28th. We have some partners here in the room with us today to provide some updates on the impacts of Hurricane Helene from their respective positions. My name is Stacey Wood. I am the Public Information Officer for Buncombe County Government. I have with us today County Manager Avril Pender, Chair Brownie Newman, Taylor Jones, Emergency Services Director, and Sheriff Quentin Miller. I also have joining us also is Buncombe County School Superintendent Dr. Rob Jackson. We'll go ahead and get started with the briefing with remarks from County Manager Avril Pender.
Thanks, Stacey. Good morning. We want to provide an update on where we are in responding to this incredible disaster. I won't mince words. As the sun comes up on a very new day, we are in the midst of the most significant natural disaster in our community. Swift water rescue crews worked all night, as did our fire, emergency management services, law enforcement, and emergency operations staff. And we will continue to respond, rescue, and provide support. We know that with cell towers out and no Wi-Fi, people are desperate to connect with their loved ones. We do not have an estimate for power restoration or for self-service, but we beg you to please not call our 911 center for questions. Many of us are also waiting to hear from our loved ones, and unfortunately, all we can do at this time is to try and stay patient. We've been asked to share that at this time, there's no water in Woodfin. They are working with representatives from the water treatment plant and Woodfin Water to restore service. There is currently no estimated time for restoration of services. Woodfin Water customers are asked to conserve water at this time. Today, joining me is our board chair, Brownie Newman, and I will turn to him now to give an update.
Good morning. I'm Brownie Newman. I'm chairman of the Buncombe County Commissioners, and I would like to first thank all of the first responders in Buncombe County and throughout Western North Carolina, and all of the public safety staff who have been working overtime since this storm has arrived in the Blue Ridge Mountains to help respond to emergency calls from residents and to get people to a safe place and to begin the process of protecting and restoring our critical infrastructure in the mountain region, as well as all the folks from the utility companies and other agencies that are all involved in the emergency response in Western North Carolina. The one request that I would make to the people of the region is that if you are safe at home, we urge you to stay at home. One of the challenges of many that we are now facing is that as emergency crews are trying to get out and respond to calls for help from people who are not in a safe place, and the utility company personnel are trying to work to restore the electrical service to our communities, they are being inhibited by other traffic that is on the highways to respond to emergency situations and to restore electrical power to Buncombe County and elsewhere in Western North Carolina. So if you are safe in your home, we urge you to stay safe in your home. The traffic lights in the region are mostly not working due to the electrical grid being mostly offline. So it is very hazardous to travel in Buncombe County and the region right now. And if you are on the road, you may be unintentionally prohibiting or delaying emergency responders and utility companies from doing what they need to do to help keep people safe and to get our electrical grid back online as fast as possible. So thank you so much. And who is speaking next?
With that,
we'll ask.
I'm sorry, it's Taylor.
All right, we'll ask Taylor Jones from Buncombe County EMS to give an update as well.
So here's an update on all of our major rivers. They're still at major flood status. Please stay away from the riverbanks and going out and sightseeing. I'm seeing kids that are playing near the rivers that are hazard materials spillways now because of the amount of hazardous materials that's in our waterways. Please stay away from this water. It is dirty water and it is very dangerous. It is very swift. We have received 556 911 calls on Friday. Life safety response continues to be a priority for emergency services crews. However, they're being triaged through our 911 system. We are concentrating to seeing the highest priority call, connecting the right call with the right team during that crisis. So that means some people will have to wait longer times. We're having troubles with accessing people in some of our areas along the river because of roads being washed out and because of so much trees and debris and power lines being on the highway. This is going to prolong our call. And to Chairman Newman's point, please stay off the highways and allow our crews to get to these emergency calls. We are answering 4 times an hour what our normal call volume is today. Yesterday, that looked more like 30 times. Communications are very challenging at this time, but we ask you, do not call 911 to report things like trees down, power lines, outages. We need to concentrate on emergency life safety calls. That is our focus. They are extremely busy in our 911 center, focusing on those critical life safety calls. So only call if you have an emergency that requires fire, EMS, or law enforcement response. Life safety response continues to be the priority for emergency medical service crews. However, again, things are being triaged during this call process, and calls are being EMD'd through the process. Please be patient with our dispatchers through this process. Swiftwater boat rescues are being performed by multiple local, state, and federal teams that have conducted overnight rescues. More than 130 water rescue missions have been conducted. Roads I-40, I-26 are impassable in multiple locations. All roads in western North Carolina should be considered closed. Motorists should not travel in this area, should not attempt to drive through standing water, and must respect barricades and road closure signs. I was just answering an emergency call this morning, and I had people that was not yielding. They were pulling to the left, not the right. Please pull to the right, emergency vehicles. Please yield to our officials that are providing essential services, law enforcement, fire, and EMS, by pulling to the right. The North Carolina Highway Patrol urges people not to drive unless it's absolutely an emergency, and I highly agree with this. Water. Water is going to be a very challenging event. The boil water advisory for Asheville continues. Woodfin Water continues to see an outage. Cellular coverage in Buncombe County remains without cellular coverage. There are no estimated times for restoration. Power, more than 100,000 Duke Power customers remain without power in Buncombe County. Emergency shelter. The emergency shelter at the Western North Carolina Ag Center is currently serving 400 survivors of this incident. An additional shelter at AB Tech will be open as soon as the roads into the location are passable, and our crews are working diligently on this process right now. The announcement will be made at that time. Mountain Mobility is unable to perform any routes through this weekend. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And Sheriff Miller, please.
Yes, thank you. As you know, this is definitely a historic event, not only for each of folks that's working in emergency services, but each of you. We are faced with extremely challenging circumstances such as gas shortages, no power, limited access to our communities, and the sad reality of our situation. I just like to remind the community, these are our families, these are our friends, these are our homes, and we must come together at this point to survive not only for our community but for each other. While we are sad, a little stressed and stretched, we are coming back strong right along with our community. Our hearts go out to this community. I would just like to add to that we ask that you listen to the updates from the local officials. If you are able to, please stay at home. Do not be on the roads. This is prohibiting our response in some circumstances. And we ask that we work together. Be kind to your neighbors. Help where you can. And some of our communities have been cut off from each other. And so if you can assist if you have service, lend your phone so someone can call their loved ones if necessary. But just remind each and every one of you that we will come out stronger of this event than we started. And again, remember, community of we.
Thank you. And Buncombe County School Superintendent, Dr. Rob Jackson.
Thank you. Certainly want to share our great appreciation for all of our emergency response, emergency medical, and law enforcement partners who have just been absolute heroes throughout this event. Our school system has been honored to partner with all of our community partners who are doing so much, providing transportation, using our buses to shelters and providing some food for our shelters and helping everywhere we possibly can. As you would imagine, school will be closed on Monday and Tuesday for our staff. That will be annual leave. We'll continue to monitor our schools and the power situation and make a decision about the rest of the week at a later time. But at this time, we certainly want to ask that all of our staff carefully adhere to all the requests that have been made about ensuring that we stay off the roads as much as we can, and also that we continue to be beacons for exactly what the sheriff said, which is to share kindness and warmth, caring that is in every single one of our buildings every single day throughout our community. We certainly appreciate all of our partners. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we will open it up to our partners on the call here for questions. Media, you can either unmute yourself or you can type your question into the chat. Okay, we have some questions coming in here. This is Laura Lee from BPR. Are there any updates from the mudslide yesterday on Tunnel Road?
On Tunnel Road, we still are working through that incident. We have multiple other mudslides that we're working with our USAR teams, our federal, local, and state partners. We're still working on clearing a lot of our roadways with the mudslides and with all of the tree down calls. One of the things I really want people to focus on, to the sheriff's point, is we got to be strong together as a community. And I've seen that. I've seen amazing resilience where people are out, cutting paths, helping neighbors, using their tractors to do things, in a safe way that is helping each other. We need to continue doing that. But remember this, in doing that, assess and be careful with what you're doing. The ground is still very, very wet. We're still seeing more and more trees coming down. Even though the front has moved through, we're still seeing trees and mudslides to occur.
Thank you. Are you all able to provide a current count of fatalities or serious injuries as a result of the storm?
We're not prepared to release that information right now. We're continuing to work through this and get all the focus on the life safety and taking care of our community members. We have had some loss of life, and we're working through that and setting up through our mass fatality plan. And there will be further statements as we get all of that together and get that information. We will be providing that to the media at a later time. Right now, we have to notify loved ones and make sure that we go through the process there, and that's a long process when we're stretched so thin on resources.
And just to add to that, also our challenges with communication is also adding to our ability to contact the loved ones.
Thank you. Can you give me a sense of how unexpected this was?
Well, I would tell you that I think we've done a lot of preparation, but again, this was a historic event. And so I don't know that we can ever properly prepare for everything because this was new to all of us. And so this is stretching us in places that we didn't know. Not that we was not prepared, but this is going to another level. And so I think our level of preparedness was good. But like anything, we always can be better. But I think that to say this caught us off guard would be an understatement.
So I would say that we put out emergency messages really early prior to the storm, even before the hurricane actually hit landfall, that told people to evacuate, told people that this was going to be a historic storm. I think the messaging around that, the national media did a really good job in helping us push that out. But the challenges with a system that's 400 miles wide when it comes in with this much moisture is always going to be a severe impact and a life-threatening impact. And with that, we pre-staged response capabilities. We've got a strong response to this. We've kept up with the life-critical missions, okay? And again, we want to stay focused on that because this event is still going on. We're still in a state of emergency.
What, if any, communication or assistance have you had with state or federal authorities about the cell network outages?
So we have talked with our state and federal partners, and we're working to bring in additional cellular carrier communications networks to enhance and boost the loss of those capabilities within our county. And that is being worked through the State Emergency Management Division. And we will have further information about that when those get in place and on the road. It's still going to be a slow process because, again, we have challenges at many levels. Communications is one of those top levels, and we're really focused on that. But we have other challenges like getting EMS strike teams in here, setting up emergency shelters, continuing to do search and rescue, continuing, there's houses that's been cut off that we've not even been able to get to because of mudslides and the rivers, and we've got to wait till that comes down. That's also going to direct how we put in communications equipment and where we put it in, because that has to be centrally placed throughout the county for a mesh of good communications.
Thank you, Taylor. Are there any plans for water and food distribution to community?
We're working, we have already put in requests for 14 water distribution points, pods that we will set up in the community that will where we can give out water to our citizens, but we've got to get those supplies brought in. And one of the big challenges with that is I-40 being down. The highway patrol is getting part of that opened up for us to move precious commodities through that. Is going to work with us to do that. But again, it's getting those supplies lined up and being this. One of the things that happen in disasters is what's called the cascade disaster effects, where one cause comes in, you had the pre-rain for this, and then behind it, you had the next cascade of the hurricane event and the impact from it, and then you had the winds, and then you had the impact of the mudslides, and now that cascade continues. So as we're dealing with that cascade of critical events, we will be working to set up water distribution, work with our partners with Duke Energy, and get people's power turned back on. But again, if people decongest our roadways and allow us to move those precious commodities in so we can get their grocery stores up and get the power to it. Duke Energy's got a very focused approach on how they do this, and they're very expert in how they do it. But our critical infrastructure is where the power will be turned on first and maintained, for life safety reasons.
We know that we know this is important information, but how do you expect residents to access this information without cell service / Wi-Fi?
That's a great question, and we've been working to make sure, to Taylor's point, to bring more cell service in so they can do that. But there's power now in certain parts of the county, and we're seeing people on their cell phones. So that's why we're using social media as a platform, because we're seeing people getting access to their cell phones.
Is the third shelter open? Are shelters at capacity, and how many people in each?
We're looking to bring up AB Tech today. Right now, the shelter, we had to leave the Harris Center. So all the people from Harris was transported over to the Ag Center. So it was combined into the Ag Center. And those, we believe we reported as 450 there this morning. That capacity is 500. So we are calling that operational capacity at this time. We are working to get the AB Tech Center open today. So we will have that second shelter coming online. And we also have a medical support for people that are on medical life safety needs for medical equipment. That shelter is also open at AB Tech, and there's about 30 or so.
Yes, we have a special medical needs facility that we set up last night. We have 28 folks in it right now, with 2 in transit at this time to go there. We have oxygen capabilities and some other things there, but we have limited resources. We're talking with the state about a pushback, and we have brought in physicians and some other healthcare providers to assist us with that. But like everything else, we have the challenges of getting those resources in there and getting that spun up with all the other things we're doing with limited resources. As we bring in more state support, more federal support, we will be getting these services up and providing updates the minute that happens, because our EMS crews have been responding to a lot of calls where people didn't have their medicines, where they were running out of options, and because of the power issues, we're cognizant of that, and we're working through that special medical needs facility so that we can provide those services to our citizens.
While we're on the topic of AB Tech, does AB Tech have power for the shelter?
I believe there's power at AB Tech this morning.
Thank you. Any update on Mission Hospital status?
I would defer that to Mission Hospital.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? Trying to be patient because folks are having connectivity issues. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional questions in the okay, here's one more. Where should people go for? Okay. Where should people go if they have missing relatives?
So one of the things that we're hoping to get set up really soon is a family center that people can come in and you know, if you have a lost loved one, things like that. That's one of the things that our planning team is working on. And as soon as we have that up and available, which should be by the end of our business day today, we'll be able to do that.
Thank you.
We will announce it at our 4 o'clock briefing today.
So we will be announcing that at the 4 p.m. briefing. To the rest of Laura's questions. They were all about the time frame for that. Are there any additional questions?
As you're waiting for questions, I will say our biggest challenge has been getting the resources here. We have worked really well with our state partners. Their resources are sitting in tractor trailers trying to get here. So to the community, yes, we are prepared. Yes, that would be something that would normally be here coming up 40 or 26, but with both major arteries closed, that has been a challenge for us. So please be patient. It is coming. We are being told that they have a one-way road escorted by Highway Patrol into Asheville right now. So we would expect those resources to start opening up, and you will see a different response after those resources get here.
So I have one other critical thing that I would be remiss if I did not put this out. Please conserve your gasoline. Okay, again, just staying off the roadways. When the power's off, we don't have the ability to get gasoline. Okay, this storm affects western North Carolina, upstate of South Carolina, part of northern Georgia, going into Florida. Okay, this is taking up a lot of resources, a lot of additional gas being. Please conserve your resources, your water, your gas, to make sure, that you have enough to see you through, because this is not going to be a fast process because of such a large geographical area of impact. It's going to take our partners a long time to restore some of these services. So, stay home, stay safe, and please check on your neighbors and help each other to the sheriff's point. One Buncombe strong, and we'll get through this together and be better because of it.
Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any other questions, so we will conclude today, this morning's briefing. We will be back at 4 p.m. Same format here on Facebook Live and media partners on the Zoom call. Thanks to all of our partners in attendance today, and we'll see you again at 4 p.m.
Thank you.